The film opens in an opera house where a bunch of thieves keep the audience as prisoners. While they are looking for a mysterious package, a mixed team of American and Ukrainian agents confront them. The protagonist is hit by an inverted bullet, and then he is taken by some Ukrainians. They torture and question him, but the protagonist swallows a killing pill in order to die and not disclose any sensitive information. However, that was only a test set up for him, and he just passed. Soon he is recruited by a top secret organization called Tenet. He meets with a scientist named Barbara, who introduces him to inverted bullets. These kind of bullets are not shot by the gun, but rather caught by it. To find out more about these bullets, the protagonist visits an arms dealer named Priya. She says that the protagonist needs to find a man named Sater in order to get the answers he is looking for. Priya sold him normal bullets, and he somehow managed to invert them. She believes that the man might be communicating with the future somehow. The protagonist does his research and figures out that Sater is running a scheme to help rich people avoid paying taxes by trading expensive art pieces. He and his handler, Neil, from the CIA, break into the facility, but they are soon attacked by two masked agents. The one fighting with the protagonist is an inverted agent, and he moves in reverse. The protagonist pins him down, but the agent is soon taken back by reverse entropy, and therefore leaves the protagonist empty-handed. The protagonist has a talk with Priya. Upon hearing about the incident, she assumes that the two attacking agents came from a turnstile machine, which is used for inverted technology. The thing is, the agents who attacked must have been the same person. As it appears, there's a war going on, and Sater wants to accumulate plutonium in order to use it for his inverted technology. The protagonist befriends a woman named Kat, who is Sater's wife, and manages to approach Sater himself through her. The two of them go sailing, but Sater makes a mistake, or so he thinks, and then almost drowns. The protagonist helps him and earns his trust, which was his plan all along. The two of them have a private talk and start discussing about the plutonium. The protagonist claims he can get some of it for Sater. As the protagonist claims, the mysterious package in the Opera House incident was actually plutonium, and it was seized by the Ukrainian secret services. While they agree, each one of them has their own agenda. The protagonist and Neil set up their operation, and they soon attack a truck that is carrying plutonium by surrounding it with a bunch of other vehicles. The protagonist steals a case that is supposed to contain some plutonium in it, but he finds a mysterious artifact in it instead. Soon, he and Neil are attacked by two inverted cars. In one of them, Sater is keeping Kat at gunpoint and uses her as leverage to convince the protagonist to give him the case. Sater and his men are wearing oxygen masks, which means they are inverted because inverted people can't breathe oxygen in reverse. On the other hand, Kat is not wearing a mask, and thus she is not inverted. The protagonist gives Sater the case, then saves Kat, but he is soon taken by Sater's men. However, a bunch of agents burst into that same place just in time to save him. Sater and his men use the turnstile to escape by going in the past, but they have left a wounded Kat behind. She is in bad condition and affected by radiation, so the protagonist wants to go in the past in order to save her. Before he goes, Agent Wheeler explained to him that he is going to be inverted, but the world will run normally. In addition, he should not come in contact with his forward self, because they will be both annihilated. The protagonist witnesses the action while he is moving in reverse, but the problem is Sater. He spots him and he hits his car, managing to turn it over. Then, he sets him on fire, but the protagonist is actually frozen, because the transfer of heat works in reverse for the inverted. Luckily, he is saved by Neil, who now reveals that he has worked for the Tenet organization for quite some time. He explains that Sater is trying to destroy the world by inverting as much of it as he can. They try to discuss the matter of time flow, but the subject is so complex that their heads hurt. He and Neil try to transfer Kat to a safer place. After wearing their uniforms, they end up entering the same place where they were attacked by the inverted agent. Only now, the protagonist is that inverted agent and is fighting his own self. He ends up inside a turnstile and runs out of it only to stumble upon Neil, which means Priya was right, and it was actually the protagonist attacking both of them in a weird time loop. The protagonist eventually steals an ambulance, and they put Kat in it. Although Kat is saved, she also tells them that Sater has the algorithm, which is a system powerful enough to cause a large-scale inversion. After speaking with Priya, the group has enough information to go after Sater, but they realize if he dies, the algorithm will be activated. However, Kat gives him yet another perspective. Sater is suffering from pancreatic cancer, and he will die anyway. which means that he is going to kill the world sooner or later. Therefore, the team needs to steal the algorithm, or at least some part of it, in order to prevent it from working, and then deal with Sator. The good guys will be divided into 2 teams, and perform a pincer movement attack in time instead of space. The red team will attack forward in time, and the blue team will attack inverted. The bad guys will also have all kinds of defenses, some inverted and some normal. As expected, this battle is a total mess. Meanwhile, Kat travels in the past and meets with Sator on his boat and plays on his big ego. Sator shows her a pill he stole from the CIA and explains that if he takes that, he will die. Kat keeps him from doing so temporarily, but Sator receives a phone call from his men and starts speaking with the protagonist, who has now been captured. He says he was contacted by future generations because the planet started suffering, and that is why they want him to end the world, because they are responsible. Thankfully, the protagonist soon escapes and stops Sator's men from activating the algorithm. In the meantime, Kat gets her revenge on Sator, but she kills him before the algorithm is disassembled. A bomb goes off, but it seems that the protagonist has managed to detach a part of the algorithm. Eventually, the world is saved, and the protagonist has a final talk with Neil. He reveals that he has known him for years. Although the protagonist does not know it yet, he was the one who recruited Neil to work for Tenet. After everything that happened in the movie, the protagonist saves Kat from being killed by Priya. He says that it is his job to tie up loose ends, and that he was in charge of Tenet activities for 2 years in the past.